This is the story of the National Bank War. So, there was this guy, and he was president at the time, and his name was Andrew Jackson. And Andrew Jackson made it one of his ultimate goals during his presidency to shut down the National Bank. A former president, however, James Madison, had set a charter that made the bank survive until 1836, and if the charter was renewed, it could survive until much longer. The current date is 1829, and the death of the bank is 7 years away. Jackson wants to make sure that the bank gets shut down and does not get renewed by the next president. So, he decides that the national money would not be placed in the national bank, but rather into many smaller state banks called pet banks. This makes the national bank completely useless because no money is going inside it. It's all going inside these pet banks. But as you can guess, not everybody is very happy with what Jackson is doing. Some of these people unite and create a political party called the Whigs, which was led by the maintainer of the bank, Thomas Biddle. These Whigs have very similar views to the Federalists, and most of them live in the North and Northwest, while most of Jackson's supporters live in the South. And as you can guess, this starts to divide the country once again into the North and South. The Whigs are scared, to the point where they're ripping their fake hair out. So, they try to renew the bank's charter while Jackson is in office. The Congress tries to renew the charter, but President Andrew Jackson vetoes the bill. So this means that the Congress has to re-vote, and if the votes are high enough, then and only then can they surpass the veto. But not enough people vote, and the veto holds. Let's get back to these pet banks that Andrew Jackson had created. These pet banks start to loan more and more money to the people for various reasons. This is because the pet banks are sprinkled throughout the whole entire country, so it's much easier for the people to have access to these banks, and in turn it means it's easier for them to take loans. In the South, this helped fund agriculture and it increased crop output. This is because people had more money. And in the North, there were many great manufacturing improvements. So this helped the North, even though the North did not want this. However, parallel to this immense economic success throughout the US, inflation plagued the country, and prices skyrocketed. This is because people had more money, and this means that money is less valuable to the people who have it, so prices increase to keep the value of the objects. Andrew Jackson tried to solve this inflation problem by requiring Americans to use gold and silver, not paper money, when purchasing property. This did not work. Also, the state banks were now urgently running out of money because they had given out too many loans. So, they required all of the individuals who had borrowed loans to return it to them immediately, but most of them could not. In addition, Britain was experiencing a dire financial crisis, so it requested the US to promptly pay off all the money it had borrowed. But the US could not. This led to the Panic of 1837, and simply put, during this time period, the American economy crashes completely. We would now like to give you an opportunity to take notes.